The contents of Want My Baby Back, this media, and anything created or shared by Want My Baby Back LLC are opinions not to defame or make any accusations. Some names are pseudonyms. Please pardon the typos, slurred or misspoken words, and other errors. This content was created in grief. Copyright Want My Baby Back LLC. All rights reserved.
Want My Baby Back, a Mourning vlog, day 6. While sobbing, I clean and organize my home to prepare it for sale. This house was bought as a place for her to grow up. Staying seems impossible. Making plans for my future feels like betraying her memory. While there are some unexpected things here are some unexpected things I've done since I lost my baby 6 days ago. Bullet points. Count the number of people who signed her memorial book at the funeral home to determine if I provided her a large enough community of people who loved her. Rehang the photos in her bedroom that I took down to display at her memorial, even though I'm now preparing for the sale of the house. Count the number of people who donated to the causes I asked people to give to in her name instead of sending us flowers or food, to determine if people are honoring her memory. Sign and date all of the paintings we painted 2 days before she passed, because we will no longer be adding embellishments to them. Check the number of views the unlisted YouTube video clip of her memorial got to determine if other people are missing her too. They are. Google the number of years Hitler lived, 56. That's 7 times as long as my child did. Does that mean the world is 7 times worse than I thought it was before I Googled how long Hitler lived? Back to preparing for the sale of the house. Want My Baby Back, day 7. My mind keeps slowly and carefully going over the events of last Friday, trying to make sense of her passing. I can't believe she's gone. When her surgeon tried to explain to me what happened, I didn't get it. My first question was, what caused the brain tumor? My second question was, what physician was responsible for her care in pediatric ICU? After speaking to her surgeon, I followed her anesthesiologist down the hallway to her room. We passed the patient's room with the sheet cracked slightly. I got a quick glimpse of a young girl inside with long dark hair sitting up watching TV. I stopped walking and asked if that was my daughter's room. The anesthesiologist explained it was not. With each step towards my daughter's room, my heart began to ache more. We arrived, and I saw she was unconscious. It was only after the third physician in a row explained it to me that I understood. She was brain dead. All of the noisy machines around her hospital bed were only there to give us time to say goodbye. I missed her terribly, and conversely, I can't believe she's not here. Day 8. I have been a talky person. My great-grandma infamously said, once that girl starts talking, she'll never stop. In this time of terrible grief, I am speechless. The worst bereavement text message I received was from a friend of 3 years. It read, wow, that's so scary. Well, at least she didn't suffer. Please let me know if there is anything you need. Let me know when you're back at work and feeling up to it, and let's have lunch. According to the American Brain Tumor Association, brain tumors can cause painful headaches and nausea owing to the pressure they create inside the skull. The night before my daughter passed, she threw up her dinner. As a result, I slept next to her in our guest bedroom's large bed. I wanted to make sure I was there to take care of her if she got sick again during the night. She didn't. That night, her father saw her throw up and he was livid and yelled at me for allowing her to, quote, overeat to the point of being sick, unquote. She and I tended to eat little throughout the day and then really tuck in for supper. Despite my significant height advantage, we frequently wore the same clothes and had the same eating patterns. I so miss her. These days, I eat the food left by thoughtful friends. Day 9. Contractors worked on the house today. I cleaned and cried. Below are 2 bereavement cards I received today. The card that says, quote, perhaps it, my daughter's death, was for the best, unquote, is from a colleague. I am looking forward to crafting a strongly worded reply, something in the neighborhood of, suck a bag of, should do it. On the other end of the spectrum, the kind words of a stranger who shared that my daughter and I forever changed her life for the better was a heartwarming, tear-jerking surprise. I'm gonna read the letters. Dear Rachelle, I was so sorry to hear that your daughter died at such a young age. I know that she had major health issues, so perhaps her passing was for the best. Having said that, however, losing a loved one, particularly a child, is very difficult and heart-wrenching. My thoughts and deepest sympathies are with you and your family. That was the one that said it was for the best. The other note is a little bit harder to read because the text is very small, but I'm going to do my best. Dear Rachelle, my name is, and I've blanked it her name for her privacy. I am one of the women who used the rec center in the morning. I changed across the center aisle from your spot. I'm not sure that you know me by name, but in the last few months, I've enjoyed getting to know you and Constance. I thought of you often during the week recently when you went to Disney World. This is in part because I found joy in thinking of you both having a fabulous time on your trip. I also thought about you while you were away because your absence made me realize that the locker room was such a drearier place without you there. I've gone to the rec center regularly in the morning since it opened. Until you and Constance started coming in the morning, we were just a group of women getting dressed before moving on with our days. You and Constance changed that. You turned us into a community, more than transformed. That was a gift, and I thank you. Perhaps, please know that you are missed and loved by this person whose life you and Constance touched. I recognize that the two of you are a package deal in the morning at the rec center and suspect you won't be back in the mornings now. If you ever want to connect, I'll be delighted. My contact info is, with great respect and affection. P.S. The flowers on this cards look to me like one of the beautiful pins in her hair. Day 10. A week ago today was my daughter's memorial. The funeral director commented that I was the most accommodating mother he had worked with. It's easy to be flexible when nothing matters. No decision made at a funeral home will bring my daughter back, so why care? Initially, I suggested that she be cremated before the memorial service, This would have saved my parents $2,000. But like every decision regarding the service, it really didn't matter because it wouldn't bring her back. However, her father wanted her cremated after the service, so that's what we did. Due to her emergency brain surgery, I didn't want anyone to see Constance, so I requested a closed casket. However, her father wanted it opened when he and I arrived, and he had the funeral director put a winter hat on her head. After our immediate family was invited in to pay their respects, the funeral director closed the casket. It was terrible to see her like that. My entire body hurt looking at her body. In the days leading up to the memorial service, I visited the funeral home repeatedly to set up more and more photos of my daughter. I wanted people to remember her as she was. She was a kind, happy child who enjoyed swimming, reading, and playing with her iPad. Her father asked a clergy member from his mother's faith to bless my daughter and to speak at the memorial. To my reflection, I had only gone to this clergy member's place of worship twice, and both times I stormed out after taking offense to hate speech. The first time, the clergy member was condemning homosexuality as being evil. The second time, someone called my daughter a half-breed. During his funeral remarks, the clergy member tried to comfort those gathered to remember my daughter by saying that her brain tumor was caused by the devil. I restrained myself from walking out or standing up and giving a rebuttal. His speech wasn't for me. It was to give comfort to others. Nothing done or not done at the memorial service could provide comfort to me. The only thing that could make me feel better would be to have my baby back. Day 11. Today, my daughter's father returns to work. I'm not up for that yet. I keep spontaneously bursting into loud, heaving cries of painful tears. I feel like the inverse of that astronaut Scott Kelly in the twin study. Instead of being changed by 7% by this experience, I've been changed 93%. On a cellular level, I won't be the same. The baseline has forever been altered. I tried to stay in motion by focusing on getting the house ready to sell. But it's hard when your body hurts all the time. I just want to hug my daughter and tell her I love her. Day 12. My mom has mentioned several times how happy she is that we took my daughter Constance to Walt Disney World on vacation a few days before the brain tumor killed her. She has stated over and over how grateful she is for those memories. She reminisces about my daughter kissing her cheek, something she did for the first time and last time on that trip. My daughter would let loved ones kiss her on the cheek, but only ever kissed me on the cheek. I am glad that those memories are comforting to my mom. When a senseless tragedy strikes, you feel lucky to cling to anything that helps you sleep at night. Intellectually, I know the pediatric neurologist said that nothing could have kept that malignant brain tumor from killing my daughter. Still, I can't help thinking about the vacation in terms of what signs we might have missed and what discomfort she might have been experiencing. I kept reading on medical websites about the headaches, nausea, and other symptoms and thinking, my poor baby. On the trip, she had a hard time regulating her diet and overate. but all the adults had the same problem, so we didn't think of it as a sign of anything. We joked that the calories didn't count on vacation. At Walt Disney World, I noticed that there were no kids wearing those Make-A-Wish t-shirts. Historically, children with terminal illnesses on trips organized by the Make-A-Wish Foundation would be at the front of the lines wearing those shirts. At that time, I speculated that they probably just give those families unlimited fast passes now, which allow them to cut in lines. While waiting to meet a princess, I wondered what it would be like to take your child on a vacation, knowing that it would be your last trip together. It seemed dreadfully hard, but nothing like the pain of not having the child anymore. I thought, how could a person live through that? I don't know. My feet still have the tan lines from my sandals from that trip. I wish they wouldn't fade. Day 13. The first day that we started our early morning swims, my daughter was so jubilant that she declared that she loved me 5 times in a row. Her record-breaking shouts put me on cloud 9. My daughter had some expressive language challenges that she was working past. As a result, her repeatedly exclaiming that she loved me meant a lot. I was euphoric for days. With unparalleled pride, I told everyone I spoke to about it. She loved swimming. She and I had been going to the pool at least a couple of times a week since she was 3 years old. Now that she was growing up, I wanted daily time to work on self-care with her. To create the opportunity for her enthusiastic participation, I took her to the pool to swim in the morning when it opened. In the morning, the pool only allows for lap swim. As a result, we'd go with our caps and goggles on. We'd share a lane. I'd walk alongside her, ensuring she didn't swim into the walls as she went. On the third day of our morning visits, a lifeguard physically blocked us from going into the pool and said, "You can't swim now. The morning is only for lap swim." I was angry. I was angry enough to levitate. I took my daughter by the hand and walking around her in a firm and calm voice, I proclaimed, "I know that's what we're doing. We're swimming laps," and proceeded to get in the pool anyway. That afternoon, I called the associate director of the pool. The associate director said that there weren't any rules regarding the age of a person swimming laps. As a result, she said we were more than welcome to continue swimming laps in the morning. She stated that she'd send an email to all the lifeguards informing them to allow us to swim. The next day, while getting out of the pool, a different lifeguard blocked my daughter and me from walking to the locker room. She informed us that we were in violation of the school's policy of no swim lessons in the morning. I explained that my daughter was in swim lessons on weekday evenings and that we came in the mornings to swim laps together. I hypothesized that this confusion occurred because my daughter and I don't look alike. She has caramel skin and black curly hair. The lifeguard argued with me and said that she'd been informed not to allow us to swim in the mornings anymore. I politely told her that I understand the confusion, even though I didn't, and we had permission to swim from the pool's associate director, and she should follow up with her boss. From that point forward, no one tried to stop us from swimming in the mornings. However, I remained the only mom whose kid wanted to get up and swim at 4:45 a.m. each day. The other women who worked out in the mornings all got to know my daughter. They noticed when she made progress and congratulated her. They treated her with warmth, respect, and love. At least 2 of the women we saw each morning came to the memorial service. One thing that was personally challenging for my daughter was putting on her bra. It easily became twisted. When she would get frustrated, I would say, "What's your superpower?" And she would cheer, "Persistence," and try again. I am so proud of how hard she worked. The day she collapsed from the brain tumor, as we waited for the EMTs to arrive to transfer her to the other hospital where she would have her brain surgery, I naively whispered in her ear, "It's okay, honey. Mom is here. You've been through all this before." I thought the collapse was the result of a relentless seizure, like the one that had hospitalized her a year earlier. "We're going to Dr. Sorbin's hospital. We go there all the time for your appointments. You'll be okay. You know your superpower. You are persistent." Day 14. As a thought experiment, I was asked how my daughter coped with loss. I believe the goal was to elicit ways that I might handle the tragic loss of my daughter. My daughter was only 8 when she passed. When her PBS Kids application on her iPad rotated off one of her favorite videos, she became her most upset. She would throw herself on the marble floor, howling, "Why, Mommy, why?" for what felt like hours. Her descriptions of the videos never provided the correct keywords to find them on YouTube, so they were genuinely unavailable to her. The first time this happened, I tried to explain that other people liked seeing new videos on the apps, and this was a common practice among streaming services. My analysis was not comforting. As a result, I began to just hold her and say, "I'm so sorry. I know this is terrible." I found myself saying the same thing to my daughter's family members when they wept over her passing. The exception was her paternal grandmother, repeatedly shouting out, "Why couldn't this have happened to me?" Words failed me. Since her passing, when I would break down and cry in front of people, I would also apologize. What I was thinking was, "I'm sorry that I'm burdening you with my feelings." Those unaccustomed to the shame of crying in front of people thought I was apologizing for my daughter's malignant brain tumor. They would mimic my initial apology with my daughter's app's frustrations and try to logically explain to me why my daughter's brain tumor was not my doing. I would respond by going somewhere more private to cry. Day 15. Many people with significant challenges due to an autism spectrum disorder can suffer from a behavior called eloping, where they run away. In many tragic cases, this includes darting into traffic or bodies of water despite not being able to swim. As a result of this, I have sensors on my windows, latches at the top of my doors, and a GPS tracker in Constance's jacket. Still, the fear of her being hit by a car when she was at school or in the community without me was always present. Motivated by one too many news stories of eloping ending badly, I decided that I needed to get her an autism service dog. Despite being a strict vegetarian my entire adult life, my love of not eating animals never manifested into an ambition to own a dog or a cat. They seem like they would require the kind of attention that I couldn't responsibly commit to given the constraints of my career. However, as soon as I realized that my daughter needed a service dog, I was fully committed to getting her one and adding it to our lives. It was no easy feat to get her a service dog. I contacted all of the organizations and companies that provide service dogs to individuals with an autism spectrum disorder. Many had full waiting lists and weren't taking new applications. Still others I disqualified due to particularities such as the dog would always legally belong to the organization and could be taken back at any time including during the organization's mandated surprise visits. Eventually, I found a place that trained the dogs with the skills my daughter needed. They had a cumbersome application process, including my going to a friend's home and having my daughter videotaped interacting with a dog. A friend hosted us and borrowed a neighbor's dog. Our application was approved after I passed a subsequent interview and signed a contract saying I would have a fenced-in yard at the time of placement. After an application is approved, for the dog, the organization required you to raise $20,000 for them. The fundraising must be completed before applications are added to the wait list. They wanted you to raise the money in the community and not just write a check. Public fundraising helps the organization expand their number of supporters, raise awareness, and market the organization. In retrospect, the fundraiser was also good for my daughter because it allowed people who care for her to create some unique memories with her. To raise the money, I organized a fundraiser at an independent toy store. Years prior, another friend organized a sensory-friendly Santa event at her home. I admired that she'd planned a special event to cater to kids with sensory processing disorder, autism spectrum disorders, epilepsy, and other sensitivities. Since she no longer had the storefront or event, I decided to organize a sensory-friendly Santa event as the fundraiser for the service dog organization. Friends and family volunteered as Santa, elves, photographers, and gift wrappers. Dressed as the world's cutest elf, my daughter happily played with toys both days of the event. The highlight of the event was when one of the special needs parents told us that this was the first time her family had been pictured together in years due to their child's challenges. While my friends and family were extraordinarily generous with their time and talents, they were even more so financially. As a result of their donations, after the event, there was nothing left to do but wait till a dog completed the training program that met my daughter's needs. A year later, the dog was ready. I had to travel across country and spend a week in training to become a certified special needs dog handler. After the first day of certification, they told me that I would be bringing the dog back to the hotel with me. As we entered the hotel, an English Cocker Spaniel went wild, barking and growling at her new service dog. And what I discovered was his inflappable nature. He just stood there patiently next to me, waiting for the waiting while the batty dog was pulled away by the leash. A group of men gathered by the hotel bar saw the exchange and clapped for my well-trained dog. I didn't tell them that I'd owned the dog for less than 8 hours, and so I deserved no credit. Instead, I just agreed that I had the perfect dog. Constance immediately bonded with him. He was at the hotel for only a few minutes before they took a nap, blissfully cuddled together. It was so sweet. Over the next 2 years, she had him. Over the next 2 years that she had him, she enjoyed walking with him at parks in particular. People would run up to praise her for her beautiful dog, and she would smile and concur. Since Constance's passing, her dog hasn't been the same. My constant crying is a poor replacement for the adventures out in the community that he had with my daughter. I moved his bed into my room. I've added long walks to his routine. I get comfort from being able to pet and hug him. He is now serving as a wildly overtrained comfort animal. I fear that keeping him for myself instead of giving him to another family in need. I fear that keeping him for myself instead of giving him to another family in need of an autism service dog is selfish. I worry that I am projecting my feelings of affection for him above all other dogs into a fictional belief that he has unwavering love for me above all other potential families. He's such a small part of who she was, but I just can't let him go right now. Day 16. My nights are full of nightmares, horrifying tales in which Constance is in a variety of emergencies, and I am unable to save her. In one, she was being rushed away by floodwaters. In another, she was being sucked up by a tornado funnel. My heart racing, I lurch awake and discover the dreadful truth. I'm too late to save her. Day 17. I had a panic attack. A fire truck drove down my street. I babbled incoherently at the 3 cars that refused to move over for Constance's ambulance. I was in the passenger seat as we went between the hospitals, so I could see the faces and hear the drivers curse their selfishness. The trip from the local hospital to the pediatric hospital for her emergency brain surgery took longer in an ambulance than if I'd driven her in my car. In fairness, I have received at least one warning from every village in the North Shore, and a very sarcastic "Your Majesty" from Northbrook's finest. He was directing me to turn into a corporate campus at the time, but I'm sure in his mind he was telling me where he really wanted me to go. Rationally, I know that a malignant brain tumor is fatal regardless of whether you live across the street from the children's hospital. Still, I keep making irrational wishes. They are equal to one big wish: to have Constance with me now. Today, I am going to try to work from home. I feel duplicitous in a conspiracy with the rest of the world. It is as if, in the simple act of answering work emails, I am signing an agreement to keep on living. The thought makes my skin crawl and my stomach churn. There are 2 reasons for working. 1, other people are waiting on things they need from me. 2, it will likely result in 8 hours of continuous sobriety. Last night, after the better part of a bottle of California Red, I put about 30 cosplay aprons in my Etsy account, safe for later list. Prior to last night, I didn't know cosplay aprons existed, nor did I ever consider the possibility of even having an interest in cosplay. Cooking was something I did for my daughter. I'd prepare real meals for each of her lunches on the weekend, freeze them in Pyrex, and then pack them each morning before I took her to the pool. I had never had an interest in cooking for myself. I can't even bring myself to buy myself groceries. Yesterday, I ate a box of chocolates a neighbor gave me. Today, my menu consists of gifted zucchini bread. Constance and I were given matching aprons last year. I've thrown those away. I couldn't bring myself to give them to Goodwill. I'm too angry to envision another family using them. Somewhere in my drunken haze, I must have pictured a future me in an apron that looks like R2-D2, lying on my sofa, reading, eating, and feeling like the loneliest robot in the world.
Copyright Want My Baby Back LLC. All rights reserved. The author does not authorize, scan, use, buy, or upload to artificial intelligence of any kind. Any depiction or representation of this or Constance's story will be met with all available legal remedies. In the immortal words of Snoop, don't start no, won't be no.